present this program to you guys today. Like Abby said, it's 3 steps to heal from trauma, grief, and life transitions. This is my information, my website, my email, and my phone number. If you guys have any questions afterwards, you can feel free to reach out to me. Agenda, what to look forward to. I wanted to start off by congratulating you all for taking the first step in your healing journey. I am very grateful to be able to introduce this transformative approach to reshaping your mindset. I truly believe this program can fundamentally alter the way that you experience and navigate your life. Through learning this program, you will foster a deeper sense of self-awareness, resilience, emotional balance, thus enabling you to create change that lasts in your life. Through this program, you will uncover your inner strength and self-agency. A little bit about me. Abby did a great job over the past 15 years. I've worked in multidisciplinary organizations that have helped me develop and shape the contents of this program. Like Abby said, CSCLA, St. John's Cancer Comprehensive Center, UCLA, and the Trauma and Beyond Center, and now my private practice where I'm facilitating this program. So, through my experience in psycho-oncology and traumatology, I have gathered valuable insights and created this very specific 3-step program. And this program has produced some of the most impactful change in clients that I have perhaps ever seen. Clients, for example, who struggled to get out of bed or struggled to tie their shoes or brush their teeth or shower have left my program not only getting out of bed, brushing their teeth, tying their shoes, but with a sense of purpose. They've applied for that job. They've gotten jobs. They've gone back to school. They've reconnected with their family and friends. So I have seen powerful and concrete evidence that the concepts in this program does work. I have seen change happen, and I will teach you to build your awareness of patterns in your life that no longer serve you. I will teach you how to create healthy ways of living and coping and managing your emotions. All right, here we go. Step 1 is the build. So I want you to take a deep breath and settle in. So step 1 is awareness, where I'm going to encourage you to build your awareness. And first, I want to start off by building your awareness to what is trauma. What is trauma and what is grief? So trauma is a psychological, biological reaction to an event, to a stressful event, right? We've all heard of the word trauma. There's big T trauma, little t trauma. Trauma essentially takes away our ability to think that we're in control of our emotions. So oftentimes you'll notice perhaps you find it hard to emotionally regulate, or you have kind of a bigger reaction than you thought you would. What trauma does is it shuts down our ability to emotionally regulate. It creates an increase in cortisol and adrenaline and all these stress hormones that go up into our prefrontal cortex and really inhibit our ability to think, inhibit our ability to decision make and to problem solve. I don't know if any of you were affected by the recent Palisades and Eaton fire. I don't know if any of you noticed your kind of ability to, your shutdown, your inability to think, what am I doing? Where am I going? Where is my safety, right? So it creates a flooding experience for us and makes it very difficult for us to think and to function. Chronic trauma can lead to increased anxiety, increased depression, fear. It can cause phobias. It puts ourselves again in that experience of fight or flight and impacts again our ability to control our emotions. It can lead to chronic stress and chronic cortisol levels in our body. It can also create PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. We can experience flashbacks and dissociation. Just a little history, PTSD was originally called shell shock from our soldiers who came back from combat. We would notice they would go into these really intense flashbacks or emotional flashbacks of what they were going through. And then we retitled it post-traumatic stress disorder. We can have dissociation. So dissociation is something that's on a scale. So let's say I came home from work and I don't remember the drive, or I put the groceries away, I don't remember the groceries. That's kind of like a basic dissociation. You're just maybe not focusing or paying attention. The boring lecturer, you kind of check out every now and then, or you can think of the student in class that just gets bored and essentially dissociates. So, where trauma and grief can have an impact on dissociation is perhaps chronic trauma, chronic grief, prolonged grief starts to affect the way that we interact with our present reality. So, we start to dissociate or check out, essentially. And then lastly, at a younger age. So studies show that essentially the younger you are, or the chronicity of trauma can impact or leave you more susceptible to the effects of trauma-related disorders. Okay, so step one. So Carl Jung, famous psychologist, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So you can't heal what you don't know. And so I believe that this is the step one for a reason. We have to build your awareness. We have to build your awareness of your inner self, of your inner thoughts. So I will encourage you to dive deep into your unconscious, into your subconscious thoughts and feelings. So we know that what we don't, what is in our unconscious affects our present reality, right? So, building our awareness of what lies beneath the surface of our unconscious, right? We will begin to build a better understanding of who we are, what we want, um, and build a better sense of agency in our lives. Okay, so let's start easy. So I want you guys to start to build your awareness of knowledge. In order to build our awareness, we have to build our knowledge. The word knowledge is essentially saying, I have capability, I have capacity. And we've all heard this phrase, I don't know. It's kind of one of these throwaway phrases that you use to either stop a conversation, to either, disallow information to come to the conversation, to avoid a perhaps difficult topic or a question that we just don't want to answer. So I encourage you to look at this phrase and look at the word knowledge. And so what you're saying when you say the phrase, I don't know, is you're saying, I don't want to have knowledge. I'm disallowing, hiding, or preventing the knowledge to enter my awareness. I'm trying to throw away or distract perhaps the person I'm talking to from gaining knowledge from us, right? We do this. We're so good at doing this. And so I argue, not asking yourself, I don't know, or saying that you don't know, but my curiosity is more of building an awareness of why don't you want to know? I argue that you do know. I argue that you don't want to know because perhaps it's painful, perhaps it's scary, perhaps it's difficult for you to have the awareness of difficult feelings. And so building the awareness around your knowledge is a very, very good, important place to start. I want to take us to building our awareness of emotions and feelings. So we all have them. We all have heard emotions and feelings. We kind of use them interchangeably. I would argue we kind of don't really know what the difference is. The quote from one of my clients is, it's okay to feel the way that you feel because that's the way you feel. So through this presentation, we're really going to learn the difference between emotions and feelings. They're both beautiful, distinct aspects of being human. And we're going to begin. So what are emotions? Where do they come from? Emotions are subconscious and physiological reactions that we have to a stimuli, for example. There are a chemical firing in our brain that occurs to a stimuli. They can be felt or experienced like hungers or shortness of breath or racing heart. Emotions are physiological and response stimulated, triggered by a stimulation such as fear, right? Emotions are good. Historically, there's primary emotions like fear that alert us to something's wrong. Trauma and grief Here's where trauma and grief come in. Trauma and grief impact our body's ability to experience emotions. So, what happens when we go through a traumatic event, it can cause, again, like a physiological symptom, an increase of cortisol and adrenaline and stress hormones. And what that does is it dysregulates our body and dysregulates our emotion, and it impacts our ability to emotionally regulate. So that leaves us confused and lost and perhaps scared, right? Or dissociated. And grief does the same as well. When we're grieving, when we're in active grief, it creates a rise of emotions, right? And it can distract us or confuse us or dysregulate us. So, emotions, again, are the subconscious physiological reaction to a stimuli. Okay. What are feelings? Feelings, on the other hand, are the conscious interpretation of those emotions. So it's a little different, right? So feelings are shaped by our individual thoughts, our memories, and our past life experiences, right? Okay. So meanings are what we ascribe to the emotional experience. So our past life experiences, our thoughts, our memories influence our emotional experience. And again, trauma and grief can really impact this as well. When we have trauma, we can become afraid and have fear, and then we begin stemming from a place of fear, perhaps because of the past experience of a traumatic event or grief, right? Okay, so for example, you're walking down a dark alley, you're alone, it's at night. What starts to happen? Your heart starts racing, your breath starts quickening, you get shaky, you get sweaty, you get cold. What is this? This, in and of itself, is an emotional physiological reaction. And then what happens, right? What happens is you go to, oh my gosh, I'm not safe. I'm scared. I'm going to get mugged. I'm going to die. Oh my goodness. What is that? That is your thoughts affecting your emotional experience. That's your past. Somewhere along the way, you were told, don't walk down a dark alley at night by yourself. That's very scary, right? So that's an example of how our feelings impact and influence our emotions. And then you could go down to, you can start to spiral like, I'm unsafe, I'm in danger, I'm always in danger, I'm never safe, and yada, yada, yada. So I do want to highlight that emotions in and of themselves are not good or bad. Crying in and of itself isn't good or bad. It's the feeling we ascribe to it, right? Somewhere along the line, someone told us crying is for babies or crying is for the weak or don't cry, right? That's the meaning we're ascribing. But emotions in and of themselves are not good or bad, right or wrong, positive or negative. It's the meaning we ascribe to them that can be harmful or helpful, right? So I'm hurt means I always get hurt. I'm never gonna feel safe in this world. The world is an unsafe world, right? So we start to ascribe this sense of meaning and this association. And lastly, on emotions and feelings is I want you to build your awareness that your body does not know the difference between imagined fear and real fear, right? That speaks to like the startle effect when you're watching a movie or tearing up when you're watching a movie. Your brain truly thinks that you're kind of in this experience. Um, Right. And so our bodies don't know the difference when we're excited or when we're nervous. So through this presentation, I want you to look at the words that you use. So for example, changing the word I'm nervous, which connotates and has a meaning of I'm going to fail, it's going to go wrong, I'm going to do bad, to perhaps a different word of I'm excited, which connotates a meaning of it's going to go well, I'm happy, I'm into this. Okay. So, similarly to emotions and feelings, I want you to build your awareness on the difference between perception and perspective. Again, we've all heard these words. We probably use them interchangeably. We may not really know what they mean. So, I want you to build your awareness. So, the example is perception is how we perceive things, and perspective is based on our life experiences, which impact our current reality. So, arguably, our perspective impacts and influences our perception of reality. So, for example, I walk into a room, there's a group of five ladies. One lady looks up at me and gives me a wonky look. And I start to think, oh my gosh, she hates me. Everybody hates me. I'm never good at making friends. When I was little, everybody hated me. I had no friends. Okay, so you can see this is a dramatic, right, example, but my perception of this person, this woman who very well could just be sneezing, I take it based on my past life experiences to mean that she hates me, everybody hates me, and I'm unlovable. So again, this is just experiencing a space of awareness without criticism, judgment, guilt, or shame. Okay, so grief, right? This is grief, and that's okay. I want you to build your awareness that grief and loss are much more freckled through your life than you probably think that they are. And building awareness that you're experiencing grief and loss will help you kind of metabolize the situation or the difficult situation and help you move through perhaps a difficult situation more easily. There's big G grief and little g grief. So big G grief, it's the loss of a friend, a loss of an animal, a loved one, a move, loss, change in a career. Little G grief could be more of a life transition. Maybe letting go of a friendship you once had, going gray, right? We're all entering our older years. Like choosing to go gray is a loss of perhaps your youth, perhaps. So that would be an example of like a little G grief. I want to build your awareness around lost memories or grief memories. So this is important because it really takes the power out of activated grief. So let's say a lost memory is a memory of a loss or a grief that happened in your past that's affecting you in your present, right? So, for example, my dad died when I was in my 20s. I'm getting married now, and his loss or he is coming up a lot for me now, and I'm sad and I'm crying a lot. So, what is happening? So, using the term a loss memory, a grief memory, allows you to have awareness of you're not actively grieving. This isn't an active death. This is an active grief. It's a grief memory. And so that truly creates a lot, like it takes the power out of the activation for you, and it really gives the power and agency back to you. I want to talk about this idea of fish netting. So, fish netting is kind of when something happens, like, oh, I saw a blue car. I was in a car accident with a blue car 5 years ago, and I'm re-traumatized. Again, I would argue no, you're just this new trigger or activation is essentially fishnetting kind of all your past trauma, all your past difficulties into your current moment. And so again, having the awareness that you're not reliving a past trauma of a car accident with a blue car. You're just seeing a blue car. So really taking that situation as an individual situation, not necessarily allowing that fishnetting of all your past trauma from a previous traumatic experience. And forgiveness and letting go, right? We'll get into kind of how you do this, but can you let go of that relationship that no longer serves you? Can you forgive the family member that has hurt you? Can you let go and forgive? And the more we are able to let go and forgive, again, the more we're able to move through our grief. A little bit briefly on grief. It's a normal reaction to pain. We learn how to grieve from our families, perhaps our families of origin or our caretakers. We learn how to grieve perhaps from our gender, from our faith. And grief is often categorized with lowered states of energy. So, again, building your awareness of, am I really depressed or is this just a grief state? Am I really depressed or is this just a lowered energy state? Again, the more we feel our feelings, the more we allow the pain to come up. Grief is painful, grief is uncomfortable. And so the argument is the more we allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling, the more we are able to move through the pain or the loss. Okay, so on the same vein of we learn how to grieve from our families, from our faith, from our gender, from our ethnicity, this kind of speaks to what is called intergenerational trauma or intergenerational influence. And so the quote here is the past is not the present, and the present is not a repeat of the past. And so, what intergenerational trauma is the influence of those who have come before us, right? So, it's called epigenetics. It's kind of saying what our parents and ancestors have gone through are affecting us and can affect our DNA the way that our cells turn on and off to different things. So, we all know that like crazy intense athlete has like ginormous athletic children, right? The smoking mother has the child that perhaps is a smoker or has smoked. So, what our parents went through does influence kind of our present reality. Again, looking at the past, right? We're building our awareness of our unconscious and what's under there. We're building our awareness of, is this my grief or is this how I was taught to grieve by my parents, by my faith, right? Kind of more on a positive turn, it's kind of like we've all heard, I'm funny, my dad's funny, our family's funny. This is like a sweet example of intergenerational influence. Like the funny bone has been trickled down by our ancestors. We see this in archetypes too. This perhaps tends to be a little bit more subconscious. We see this in like the anxious parent, right? If you have an anxious parent or if you are an anxious parent, I'm sorry to say, one of your parents were probably an anxious parent, right? We were set the example and we were influenced. The workaholic father, the fearful parent, or the avoider. My family doesn't talk about anything. It's just kind of how we function. Well, that's because you've been influenced by those who have come before you. So it's very interesting when you start to build your awareness in this type of way. And echoes. I want to talk about the word echo. So echo, as we know, it's usually starts from us, from our bodies, from our mouth. It starts really loud and it dampens over time. And so what building our awareness around echoes can provide is changing the way that we respond to our triggers. You all have heard or seen or used the word, oh my gosh, I was so triggered, I just lost my marbles. And so, what happens when we're quote unquote triggered is it acts as an emotional flashback, right? We're fishnetting. It acts as a fishnet up to all that past trauma that we've experienced, right? And so, I'm allowing you to build your awareness, change your terminology to an echo. Have the awareness of, is this you? Are you really pissed off? Are you really scared? Are you really sad? Or is it perhaps an echo of your past? Is it an echo of something that happened to you when you were younger? Is it something that your parents told you you ought to do, think, or feel? I love this quote is letting go of the noise of your past will open the doors to your future. So all of this is really building awareness of things that perhaps no longer serve you, things that aren't intrinsically yours, right? Without kind of shame and guilt and judgment. These are just some quick tools to slow things down. Tell yourself this isn't me, it's just an echo. Hormones, hormones, hormones. We are not created equal. Men, I'm talking to you, we all have different hormonal cycles, hormones, the way that hormones represent in our biology and our makeup, and cycles of when these hormones are high and low. Men tend to have more testosterone, as we know, but testosterone presents itself more in the morning, right? And when we have drops in testosterone, we have drops in fatigue and energy. And women too. Men tend to be on like the 24-hour cycle. Women tend to be on like the monthly cycle. We all kind of know this. So men, again, have more energy in the morning or looking at your hormones, right? With the awareness of men tend to have more testosterone in the morning. When we have higher levels of testosterone, we have higher energy. Women tend to have more estrogen early on in their cycle. When we have more estrogen, we have more energy. So getting to know your cycle, men and women, and getting to know where you are and why. So what's the point of all this? So it's important to be aware of where you are in your hormone cycle and your biology, because then you can, for example, we all know that person who's really has a lot of energy in the morning and you just want to like punch them in the face. Set your appointments for early in the morning. Set your workouts for early in the morning, or set your vacations for that early part of your cycle when you tend to have more energy. Also, telling your doctors if you have a medical condition, how is that treatment affecting your hormones? A change in hormonal level can cause fatigue. So it's again building awareness of what you need, where your body is. And again, like if it's a drop in testosterone, am I depressed or is it a drop in my hormones? Am I depressed or am I just fatigued because my hormones are imbalanced? And lastly, the gut-brain connection. UCLA came out with this new study that showed resilient people tend to have better gut microbiomes. It's crazy, but it's real. It's a real thing. UCLA found people who have higher resilience to stress had specific gut microbiome. So the better the individual handled stress, the better their gut microbiome was. Very interesting. Do you get tummy aches? When do you get tummy aches? Can you do something to prevent your tummy aches? Is the medication you're taking hurting your tummy? Can you talk to your doctor, right? So when we have a tummy ache, it does connect with our mental health, and this study supports that. So we are building our awareness around our inner scary, painful thoughts, bringing them up into our consciousness. We're learning and building our awareness about our emotions in and of themselves are not good or bad, and the feelings we make, the feelings we ascribe to them. We're building our awareness around loss and grief and learning to let go and forgive, and also intergenerational influence of grief and trauma. We're learning to tell ourselves, is this me or is this an echo of my past? And become more aware of your body and communicate with your doctor. Okay, step two. Everyone take a deep breath. So, step two of the three-step process is choice. I want you to let that sink in. So, the quote from my client is change is scary, but staying stagnant is worse. So, choice is the number one most important part of this program. We cannot change if we don't choose to. If you want to change, you're going to have to choose to, right? And so, if you want a different outcome, you have to do something different. If you want to think differently, you have to choose to think differently. So, allow the power of choice and the awareness that you do have choice. Be a vessel for change. And again, choice is 100% in your control. Only you have the power to choose what's right for you. So if you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed or depressed, if you're kind of stuck in this fight or flight, if you notice you're having really high highs and low lows or stuck in the state of like fear, remind yourself that you do have the power to choose something different for yourself. Um, okay, and the awareness of choice. So we don't always know what we want. Like often in times of trauma and grief, like again, after the Palisades or Eaton fires, I would often hear my clients say, like, I don't know. I just don't know what I want. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to think. So that's your stress hormones activating you. And it's so difficult to figure out what you want or what you know or how you feel. So I argue don't figure out what you know or what you want. Sometimes it's easier for us to figure out what we don't want, right? I may not know what I want, but I definitely know what I don't want. And so again, if you want a different outcome, you have to do something differently. A lot of clients lack motivation or they're so cerebral, they're waiting to think something else, right? I'm waiting to have motivation. I'm waiting to tell myself to think differently. So in the absence of motivation is choice. Choice is the antidote to lack of motivation. Also finding your no, right? Again, I don't think I want to go, but I know I don't want to go. Finding your no is just as powerful as finding your yes. I don't want to call this person back, right? Allowing for that choice. You don't have to call the person back. You don't have to go. You don't have to respond. You can choose not to do something, which is just as important as choosing to do something. So that's it. It's the most powerful part of this presentation. It's also the shortest part of this presentation. Okay. And so the then what, right? So we've again built our awareness on our unconscious, on what lies beneath the surface. We're learning about a lot of what is going on in my life is grief, perhaps inability to let go, and how do I do that? Intergenerational influence, again, is very important to know that this may not be a part of how you function or how you relate to people. It could be influenced by those who've gone before you. And so, and I've decided to choose. I've chosen choice. So now what? So now I'm going to give you really important tools and tricks and tips to implement to really move you through this healing process and this change. Okay. So the quote is, in the absence of war, excuse me, peace is not the absence of war. It's being able to live alongside it. So I want you to look at your concept of happiness. It says, don't be happy. That's obviously a joke, but how do you think and feel about the concept of happiness? We've all, read the book or saw the movie or have the fantasy and concept about happiness. I just want to be happy. What does that look like for you? Is it, having dinner with your friends? Is it running a marathon? Whatever that looks like for you. And I want to introduce to you a perhaps difficult concept. I would like you to strive not necessarily from happiness, but awareness that when we have happiness, we will always have sadness. It's the yin and the yang, it's the black and the white, it's the idea of what goes up must come down. It's when we say things like, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. I just want to, if I just move to that city, I'll be happy. If I just let go of my job. And so it's essentially saying, like, I never want to be sad. And striving for happiness in and of itself means that you will always have the lack of happiness. So unhappy or sadness. So this is what I call the fallacy of happy. When we strive for happiness, we will always have unhappiness. Happiness is a short-term emotion. We've all felt elation. We've all felt joy. We've all been like, I'm so happy. This is amazing. But then when we get so high, we can come down too, right? We've all experienced the letdown from a disruption of our happiness. If you're having a good day and then something bad happens, you're like, shoot, I was having the best day. I was so happy, and then this happened and then ruined my whole day. Right. So that's an example of the yin and the yang. And so again, building the awareness of happiness is a short-term emotion. It comes in quickly, it leaves quickly. What I want you to strive for is not a sense of happiness, but a sense of contentment and peace. Contentment and peace are long-term emotions. How do we build our contentment and peace? I will tell you. It's awareness of knowing that we don't like to feel uncomfortable. The I don't know is a protective measure to prevent us from feeling perhaps uncomfortable thoughts or feelings. Freud said we're pain avoiders, pleasure seekers, right? This speaks to a lot of addiction and the increase of dopamine, the love feeling, the love hormone. I love to be in love because it gives me that squirt of dopamine that I'm just so addicted to. I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to feel fear. I want to feel joy and happiness, right? And so what we don't realize what we're doing to ourselves is creating this teeter-totter of going back and forth and back and forth. The antidote, not striving for happiness, but striving for contentment and peace. How do we do this? So we do this by increasing our ability to manage our discomfort, increasing our level of tolerance, or what is called your distress tolerance. So the more you get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, the more you move into your window of tolerance, essentially. And the longer you're in your window of tolerance, the more contentment and peace that you will create. The more that you're able to feel your emotions, right? Back to awareness, experience your emotions. What's coming up? Can we sit with the pain of loss and grief? Again, the more you're able to build your level of tolerance, the more you're able to stay within your window of tolerance, and the more you're able to create a sense of peace and contentment. You can do this also by learning to let go and forgive. You can do this by responding, not necessarily reacting to life's stressors. And again, learning to manage your emotions. I thought this was very important. So I can't even tell you how many clients I've had over and over and over again where when I've done this program with, and at the end of the program, I say, okay, well, you're discharging now. How do you feel? And every single one has said, I don't feel anything. I don't feel excited. I don't feel scared. I don't feel angry. I don't feel anything. And this lack of emotionality freaks them out. And so what's happening is we get used to feeling. It gives us purpose. I'm angry now. I'm sad now. I'm happy now. What we're creating in our bodies is a reliance on elevated emotional internal environment. When we feel sad, we fantasize about the opposite of being happy. When we're sick, we imagine feeling better. And so what we've created through this program and what we've established is success is not the absence of struggle. It's the presentation of peace. Success is not the absence of struggle, it's the presentation of peace. The idea is not to get rid of your difficulties or your life or your job or your school or your kids. It's learning how to be at peace, right? So in the absence of emotion, we can create safety. And we'll learn how to create safety in our environment and in our bodies. I think this is very powerful. And again, going back to grief. So the more we grieve, the more we feel our feelings. Again, the more we become comfortable with uncomfortable feelings, the more we go into that contentment and peace. Letting go and forgiving. How do we do this? So I want to introduce this idea of Marie Kondo. I don't know if you guys know Marie Kondo. She's an adorable, wonderful woman who comes into people's houses and cleans their stuff. And so she essentially takes an article of whatever you have and asks you, does it enact joy? And you say yes or no. So based on your answer, you do the following. If it does not spark joy, you can throw it away, you can recycle it, you can give it away, and so forth. If it does spark joy, she encourages you to keep it, but honor it and put it on the shelf so that you can look at it every day and it can activate a sense of joy for you every day. So I want you to Marie Kondo things. When you say, how do I let go of my anger? How do I let go of my friend that no longer serves me? Well, you say, thank you for serving me. I no longer need you in my body. Thank you for teaching me. I no longer need that lesson in my life. Or perhaps thank you for teaching me boundaries. I really liked not necessarily the person. I want to let go of the person, but I want to keep the boundaries that I learned. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it on the shelf, and I'm going to be able to access that whenever I need. The other thing is, what can I let go of? We all hear, I'm newly diagnosed and I'm leaving my career. I don't want my job anymore. It's very stressful. So looking at forgiveness, letting go, but also what can I remove from my life to create more stability, contentment, and peace? And anxiety too. So we talk about creating peace in our bodies. So anxiety often keeps us stuck in this insecure anxiety discomfort loop, stuck in fight or flight. It's often fear, future tripping and fear. This is an important tool to tell yourself too when you're stuck kind of in the middle of the night, that 2 a.m. wake up where you're just ruminating and ruminating and ruminating. I want you to say two things. I want you to tell yourself, my body is safe and I am safe in it. And you could just put that on repeat, just insert that into the wheel of ruminations. Also, awareness of the future, excuse me, the fear of the future, the fear of the unknown is always greater than the unknown itself. Just is. It's a fact. You can argue me all day long. It just is. The truth is you don't know. This goes into what I am calling the uncertainty rule. So when you're, again, 2 a.m. ruminating thoughts, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Again, going back to building your level of tolerance. Can you build your level of being okay with uncertainty? With telling yourself, the only thing I know is I don't know. And what that does is build a sense of control by telling yourself, I know something that allows your nervous system to take a break. I know, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And then we can go into like the meaning making. I hope it's good. I hope it's fun. I hope it's nice, right? So that uncertainty role, kind of creating your level of tolerance around that uncertainty role. Again, our thoughts are not facts. We're just the ones listening to them. How you think and feel is what you believe. So changing the script is very helpful. Okay, so this is a very powerful intervention I'm calling inner child time travel. We learned about the difference between perspective and perception and how our perspective of our past experiences influence our present reality, our perception. Remember the example of the girls that I thought was giving me a bad look and that meant I'm a horrible person? Okay, so this technique is the antidote to that. This technique is the healing to that. How do we heal, you ask? This technique. So these are our current present reality. We have a stimuli, a stressor, something that's activating us and making us feel uncomfortable. I want you to go back to your past, to your quote unquote inner child. It's happened to all of us, right? Go back to that point in time in your life where you felt unsafe. Go back to that point in time in your life when you were perhaps a child, where you were told perhaps that you were wrong or that you were not right or that you were too much or someone told you to quiet down, right? And I want you to give that inner child, give that part of you all the love, all the kindness, all the safety that you weren't provided. And what that exercise does is it allows you to go back in time and heal your inner child. It's very powerful. I've seen it work over and over and over again. And what this does is it allows you to heal yourself. And when you go back in time to your inner child and you give that child, give that part of you all the love and support and kindness and safety that you didn't have, you change your traumatic response to it. You heal your response to it. And guess what? That healing goes forward into your present reality and heals your present. It literally rewires your brain and allows you to not be so activated when that similar stressor comes up. So the next time I walk into the room with a group of girls and one girl looks at me, I'm like, oh, she may just have something in her eye. I don't go to that intense activation. I don't go back to that hurt child. This is a very powerful tool. Okay, if you don't have all that time and you're not working with a therapist, this is an easy, quick, more immediate technique. It's also very powerful. It's very simple. Change the meaning. Change meaning, change experience, right? So we have a stressor. I had a client who was a mother, overwhelmed, yeah, all the bills, all the child work, and all of a sudden her air conditioning stopped working and she just shut down. She stopped functioning. She said, I'm useless. I can't get anything done. I'm a horrible mother and parent. All the horrible meaning and negative behavior started happening. And I said, wait a minute. What here can we change? What here can we reframe? Quick and easy, more immediate action. And so together we thought about like, maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe I can do this. So with a little bit of meaning work and feeling changing, she was able to change how she thought about the air conditioner. The air conditioner became not about her being a horrible mother, but it became just one more thing on the to-do list that didn't activate or fishnet, right? All the previous trauma, all the previous difficulties that she's had that she's ascribing to the air conditioner. It's just an air conditioner, it's broken, we can get it done. So this is a quicker, easier tool to do kind of more immediate if you're struggling with a triggering situation. Okay. If you take away nothing from this presentation, I want you to take away this. I want you to say this phrase to yourself when you're confronted with a decision or option or choice. I want you to ask yourself, is this in accordance to my greater good? And just let that answer come into your awareness. So once we start to say, is this decision in accordance to my greater good? So, and that's not to say, don't eat the bag of chips or don't eat the box of chocolates. It may be in accordance to your greater good to sit on the couch and binge watch Netflix and have some chocolate, have some chips. Is it in accordance to your greater good to eat the whole bag? Maybe not. Maybe sometimes. So this is really encouraging and building your self motivation, your intrinsic self motivation, your self agency. You're now choosing. You're choosing yourself. You're asking yourself, what does self need? Is this in accordance to my greater good? Is this out of love and kindness and grace for my greater good? And so, most often than not, what happens is once you start to implement this technique, this one phrase, you will start to heal yourself and you will start to notice behavior change. You may still sit on the couch and eat that chocolate, but you'll notice, I argue, you may not eat the box of chocolates. The box of chocolates will give you a tummy ache. And we've all talked about how upset tummy affects our, right, emotionality. And so pausing, building your awareness, building choice, and then choosing action. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. I want to talk about how to make change that lasts. So what do we do with all this beautiful information? How do I implement it into my life? Well, I first want to encourage you to do things that are kind of low risk, high reward. Let's say you have a presentation and you have social anxiety. Perhaps start slow, start small. Talk to the mail person, talk to the gardener, right? So this is low risk, high reward where you're like building action, you're building a sense of what works for you. And then consistency, right? Every day, I'm not going to sit in bed all day long and wait for my mind to think something different or wait to become motivated. I wake up every day at 9 o'clock, consistency. I wake up every day at 9 o'clock, building those habits. I call this the Tom Cruise effect. So you guys may know Tom Cruise. He's a famous actor. He did a movie called Top Gun. So in Top Gun 2, Tom Cruise comes in and teaches all the cadets how to fly this like impossible mission. It's very dramatic and there's, people everywhere on the beach and doing really intense things. So what he does at the end of this really intense training is he literally tells these cadets, don't think, just do. And for a very long time, I was very upset with Tom Cruise and I didn't understand why he said this phrase. And now I know. I trust and know and want to tell you that you have everything you need already inside you to make decisions that are in accordance to your greater good. You're building consistency, you're building habits, you're choosing choice. Don't think, just do, just Tom Cruise it. So I think that's a very fun way to be able to say, in the absence of motivation, don't think, just do. And also managing life setbacks. You can't be perfect all the time. And so, what happens when you're late? What happens when you forget something? Giving yourself grace, letting go of guilt, letting go of shame, and letting go of judgment. There you go. Just a few other tips. And so again, we're learning to look introspectively. People pleasing, I feel like we all kind of do it. Curiosity around where did this show up for you? Probably your childhood. I hate to say it. Perfectionism, you're never going to be perfect. I argue, don't try. Again, looking back, where did you learn that you needed to be perfect? And lastly, nothing can hurt you more than your own thoughts. So I hope this build awareness around how your thoughts can impact you. And nothing can heal you more than your thoughts. Your thoughts are not facts. You're just the one who are listening to them. Life can be hard and scary and feel unfair, but through building awareness, choosing choice, and initiating action, you are changing your brain chemistry and you are healing your nervous system. By choosing to heal, you are opening up the doors to your future. You will become resilient. You will have a greater sense of agency and power and ability to move through your pain. I want to let you know and tell you that you can do hard things and you can recover and you can heal and you can do this. Again, my name is Cherie Nassi. I am giving you my personal information. This is my personal cell phone. I love to hear your thoughts and questions if anything comes up. I do have this program starting in my private practice. This is my website and my email, and I hope you enjoyed it. Lastly, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So I really hope you guys took away something from this presentation, and thank you for joining me and thank you for your time.